We are live. Welcome to the Digital Art Market Show, the damn show. I am Roger Dickerman, RD, here for a very exciting show today. So first up today, we have none other than Refik Anadol. And I'm going to get back to that in 1 second because it ties into what yours truly was doing this past weekend. At 1 p.m. Eastern, for the second hour of the show, we have Dave Krugman on the eve of his Windows release with Transient Labs. Can't wait to talk to him, show you some Windows, dig into his history, and a whole lot more. Well, let's take a step back. Rafik's going to join us in about 10, 15 minutes. Important meeting clears, and then it's game on over there. So let's take a step back. First, we're presented with 24 Hours of Art and Gandhi. And let's give you a little bit of that. First, there's the art market in action. Of course, every day. There it is on 24hours.art. And of course on X, Primary Homes. And a little glimpse into what happened. So you could see Big Beeple sale, Coldy, Ronald Ong, some old school curio cards, Rocket Girl, and a whole lot more. Matt Kane Gazer, of course, right in the middle. Modest New Edition. Rob Evans Classic. And there it is. So you'll get that on 24hours.art. Now, Gandhi powers this show. And looking over at Gandhi, I'm looking at the loan market today. Of course, you can look at top sales, see a nice hoodie CryptoPunk for 200 ETH. Top loans, of course, looking at not every day you see an X copy one of one loan, and there it is. And so those are the terms: 350,000 USDC, a loan out for dissolution, hit just a few days ago. Always catches the eye when that does happen. And so there's Gandhi. Now, did you tune in last week? It's an interesting time overall in digital art. So subtly last week, if you do read the report, you may have noticed the line items of the report. Now, remember, 24 Hours of Art's specialty is to cover the digital art market above certain sales thresholds, right? It's the show in town for that. You may have noticed those line items creeped over 50 per report last week, averaged 50 per report. Now, there was a time and place where that was a little bit more common, not so much in recent memory. It was nice to see things stabilize from just an activity standpoint. I think that the top end of it's still a bit slow, but from an activity standpoint, it is active. There's plenty going on in the primary market, and there was plenty going on in the secondary market last week, and that's translated through this week. So that's cool to see. Now, let's get to this show. How about this show? Welcome, everybody. Who do we have in the house? We have Deconstruct in the house. A welcome back from LA. I appreciate you. Thank you, Deconstruct. We have Victoria Verdandi, speaking of on the report this morning, with an interesting story around an edition work of hers, an edition of 10. Good morning, Victoria. Golden Dick Butt in the house. RD always going strong. You are always going strong. It's just great to see you today. I'm jazzed for the show, if you can't tell. By the way, landed and got in the door at 5 a.m. from LA, but cannot stop us, will not stop us. Okay, set the stage. Last week, the damn show was a retrospective and a look forward. We did a retrospective on Lisbon with 100 collectors, the whole 100 collectors crew. 3 ladies that I'm quite fond of leading the way. They're, of course, now out in Switzerland. We had a great first segment last week. Then we moved into a preview of Art Basel, Switzerland. They're there, and it was also a preview with Eli Scheinman and Trevor Paglin, co-curators of 010 at Basel. Well, that's happening now, so congrats. All our friends, excuse me, traveling the world, doing the thing. Wish we could be there, but our window in, pun intended, with the segment coming with Dave Krugman, our window in will be through them this time around. So eyes on what's going on over there. Now, what were we up to? Brian Brinkman, what's up? Welcome, sir. What were we up to? Well, we were in LA, and here's a fun photo. Look at that guy. Now, if anyone doesn't know who that guy is, that's Jay and Silva. You should know, right? But if you're new to these parts, the space, if you will, you may not know him. He's been around a long time. He's one of the great connectors in the space, long artist photography career prior to coming into the space alongside Thank You X, none other than Thank You X. Saw him out in LA as well in December of 2020. And I had the honor of getting a lot closer with him in 2021. And you fast forward, and guess what? It's 2026, and here we are traveling out to LA for Dataland. And that's really a wonderful introduction, of course, to Refik, who's going to join us in just about 10 minutes here. But we kicked around LA for 2 days. We went to a VIP event there. We got behind the scenes. We got some. Refik was very generous with his time. We were there. And we're going to show you a lot of that. We're going to talk about a lot of that today. But I had the honor of also being at the opening of Node in Palo Alto. And these two facilities are very different, but I think they have a similar spirit, right? Both of these facilities feel to me like the absolute bleeding edge, different constructions, different forms of dynamism. I think Node is a lot more physical, meaning that power grid, and it's a lot more malleable in terms of the physical structures contained within the space. Whereas Dataland out in LA is this incredible, you don't see the tech, there's nothing visible. It's all invisible, and the museum's alive. And so the walls are fixed in a sense, but everything is in motion because of the screen tech, because of the chip tech, because of the fidelity, because of the programming. And we're going to get to all that, of course. But I value being at these kinds of things because I think they're formative moments. And as we're going to get to later, you know, Refik in a way is showing the way. He's being asked, well, he's picking up the torch himself, of course, but there are others looking at him and asking him to show the way, show us what's possible, show us something the world's never seen before. And I think Dataland's accomplished that. So we're gonna dig into that in a second. Chikai, good morning. Alien TA GM. Great to see you. Now, this guy on screen, I've held this shot because JN and I, little 24 hours of art level up as far as coverage. You could call it an experiment. It's certainly one that we hope to repeat. And we're going to be rolling out footage over the course of this week. Why don't we start now? Before we have Refik, why don't we give you a little preview of what we were up to? So without further ado, here we go.
Okay, we need to tell the world that what we do is, sure, our work, but the mission is way bigger than our work, right? We want to uplift the whole medium, like the whole medium. I want to show you, that's our control room. That is server room. I'll show you that later. That is called Connectome. So you're one of the first to see. Please welcome. So that is behind the scenes, truly. That is how we build the the data pavilion. So everything you see here is custom built, engineered to make data pavilion. I mean, you know this, of course, now, Discovery Portal, we call it, but I love this transparency so much. Like when we tell the world that like what you are doing here with these data sets, where they come from, the openness and transparency here is overwhelming, I know. But that's what we are missing in data world, right? Like,
how about it? Pretty cool, right? Taking a moment, of course, to retweet the show and pin it. Thank you for being here. How cool is that? And, just even to throw up here, look at this place. How about that? Great shot. Again, JN, great to be there on site with him. Obviously, far better photographer, artist, videographer, jack of all trades. And we captured some really cool stuff. So scrambled to put something together for you today. Thought it was appropriate. Lead the show with it. Welcome you in. More to come. More to come. And we're going to talk about some things with Refik. Here's another phone one. Look at that shot. Little aerial view from the escalators you used to come down into the space. Got some shots. I want to wait for Refik because we're going to talk about some of this event, some of the special people who are part of the event, and some of the special people who have influenced this space. And so we're going to get to that. And there you are. What's up, Johnny? Welcome, Johnny. Welcome, Karmik. All right. Let's get that off the screen. Let's pull here. So, again, Refik joining us in just a few. Dave Krugman at 1. Let's go back. That's a nice little prep on what you're about to experience and what we're about to talk about on the Dataland side. Let's go back to the art market for a second while we kill a few minutes. Let's go to the report. Let's give some friends a shout. Let's give some interesting events a shout. Let's go through it. On the collection side, we see Joel LB live on Ninfa. Wap Shop collected the first work over there. Congrats to them. We see Paul Reed on Transient Curated. They have a nice little chapter by chapter. Yeah, let's click through. Let's show that. Pan Noir. They have a nice little chapter by chapter approach going on over here. And this one a bit different. Oftentimes they debut one of one works. And in this case, it's 2 edition works. You can see Salute and Lament on screen. And then over here, The Horns of Pan. Live now, that's his open edition. Paul Reed doesn't do too many of those. We like Paul Reed's work in some very, very interesting collections and places. So congrats to those guys. Now, back over here, what else is going on? 8nat, Jared was on the show a few weeks back. Their second chapter of this long rollout of digital encounters with some fantastic artists. Delta Sauce approaching sellout. We love to see it. Of course, as we'll get to later, Tuesday, June 16th, there's Dave. That's tomorrow. Everyone on the show, stay tuned. If you are interested, there's going to be a little opportunity for you. We'll get to that when Dave joins the show. If you're in 24 Hours of Art, also, eyes peeled, ears peeled. One of one highlights, there's Ronald Ong. Now, Ronald Ong, interestingly, this was paired with, and we can scroll down to the edition section and also see he owns some real estate there. So he had fragment editions, 5 of them, 5 editions apiece, and then a culminating 101 that sold for 1.5 ETH. So top the 1 of 1 section today. Nice to see. And a number of others that we've mentioned. Rob Evans, Rocket Girl, Martin Bruce, Randy Little collecting an interesting byway. And then Batsup Yum and Lynette in the house with another selection for their month over month curation that Bats has clarified will continue. Publicized that he already acquired the ETH for that endeavor to continue. And so there's a number of artists here down starting right here in the 0.33 level. That's Black. And we keep going. There's Alex Mack. There's Oak. And there's Jose. We love to see it. And there's some below threshold as well. So they continue to push and move. Down to 1 of 1 of X highlights. Here's a little deep cut. There's a little bit of shenanigans going on in some of these markets. And it's largely related to the Wallet Penguin Ocean, possibly Hungriest Panda. But just interesting things that we observe from time to time. And so a couple of these artworks and some of these collections are getting passed back and forth. I try to chop out as much of that as possible, but in this case, it's being staggered day over day sometimes. And so, good to say that out loud. But there is plenty of stuff in this report and in the past reports that does not fall under that category. So that has nothing to do with the uptick in activity, but it does add to it a little bit. We filter as much of it out as possible. What else is interesting here? A lot of art blocks collections. We've seen some art blocks activity. We've seen some Fidenza activity. It's nice to see things course correct, because I think as ETH USD took a hit, now has bipped up just a little bit, but as it takes a hit, usually that market slows down, it gets a little confused, and then it finds itself again and bolsters, and we've certainly hit that moment, so it's nice to see. And then down here in addition, an absolute classic, one of my favorite Beeples. Beeples in the house in LA at Dataland this weekend. That was nice to see. Nice to see the mutual respect between those artists. But a classic. This is 2020, released in December of 2020 for $1 each. Beeple Everyday's Raw. It encompasses every single everyday from a pretty formative year in 2020. When you think of all that occurred in that year 2020, and really that was a lot of what went nuclear. That was a lot of when this all went nuclear for a time. Karmic says, Fiat Fire in the house, GM. Karmic says, peace is good for art. That is true. And actually, to pull back for a second on macro events that we see happening out there, peace is good. Agree. Are you a New York Knicks fan? Congratulations. Wonderful to see. I'm not a Knicks fan. I'm actually a Philadelphia fan. I should just put that on blast. Yeah, I know. But, I have so many friends who are Knicks fans that it pushed me to neutrality. We love to see it. I'm close to New York. I'm in New York all the time. There was a lot of exuberance around that. And so congratulations to every single New York Knicks fan listening to this show, with one exception, and that's Gary Bird. That's one exception. What else? UFC White House last night. Watched a bit of that on a plane back. And back to the market. So again, primary is something that we're seeing in the collection side. We had F. on the show. Again, Dave later. A lot of these primary releases, we've seen success across Reorder. We've seen success across Nuclear Samurai's Brain Rot, and on and on and on. And in the edition category as well, we already mentioned Ronald Ong. There's Modest releasing an edition of 42 and selling out yesterday. There's Coldy continuing his Tech Epocalypse series. There's Mark Zuckerberg number 4, selling for 3.569 ETH to Karate Kid. Karate Kid, one of my favorite sort of subtle, quieter collectors, strong taste, always lifts an eyebrow, curious to see what resonates with him. And in this case, you have the answer. It's Goldie. Curio cards. There they are, the historical curio cards. In and out of fashion, but ever relevant. And we see some big sales in that collection, led by Complexity and Passion and The Barbarian. What else can I tell you just ahead of this? Let's see. Let's go to a little shout out for Justin Wetch. You know, you know. I think many of you do know. I have the pleasure of working alongside Justin Wetch on a daily basis, a literally daily basis. And something that you probably know about. Here, I'll show you this. Probably know about these daily art designs. Had a few fun ones as of late, and they're always fun, but sometimes they hit the internal spot. They're a little bit of a deeper cut internally, and we quite like that. But what I wanted to give Justin the shout for is his latest, and we're going to get to it. There it is. 51. His 51st deep dive artist interview, and it is Controlled Chaos, Nuclear Samurai's Brain Rot. One of those collections I mentioned that did quite well, is doing quite well still on the secondary market. But think about this. So this series, you can see this is a deep dive interview. Justin Wetch is a published author, legitimately published author, not even self-published. He's been through it. He's a poet. He's a philosopher and an artist. And so, you can see these interviews are in depth. And I recall just over 1 year ago, him coming to the table with this idea. He wanted to try his hand at it. He's obviously uniquely suited to do it. I'm a personal huge fan of anything interview, anything long form, whether that be audio only on a podcast, whether that be video, whether that be written like this article. And he had his way to do it. And when I see that passion, that fire, it's go. And Justin's just as crazy as I am. And so not only has he stuck to it, but if you think about it, this is number 51 and number 52 will publish this Friday. 52 weeks is a calendar year. So we're about to wish Justin Wetch, and he calls this series Weekly Dose of Art. We're about to wish this series and Justin a happy anniversary. And that's incredible stuff. It's consistency because it's on top of the daily art that I work on a concept with him, but he absolutely spearheads. And this is his series. And so it's great to see. You can read them all on X in the articles tab, and you can also get them on the 24 Hours of Art website. You can see here, boom, reports. You can click right here, Weekly Dose of Art, and bam, there they are. Nuclear Samurai, Louis Daisy, F. Dot, Perfect Loop, Lazaro, Muju, Dave Krugman. There you go. Look at that. Look at that. About to come full circle with Dave here. So he was, let's see, that would have been a month and a half ago. And now he's in the house live today on the show. We'd love to see it. And there's Summer Wagner. And there's Kath Samard. And there's Sem Hassimi. And DK, Daniel Koth. And on and on and on. I would say them all, but I'm going to bore you. Mike Stewart, well done, Justin. I agree. Mike, thank you for being here. Yeah, you have to load. You have to load several screens to get them all. But there they are. Brian Brinkman in the house with us in comments today in this series. What was the first one? Anyone remember? Anyone remember what the first Weekly Dose of Art was? We got to load again to get there. And there it is. Connor Grasso, the Alaska connection. Justin Wetch, Alaska resident. Connor Grasso, at least at one point, I think he has moved since. Hint, hint, Justin. We welcome you to the Northeast, but we just want to get you warmer. Although I think the weather is picking up in Alaska. But there it is. The first ones ever. Connor Grasso. Tormius. Welcome back, Tormius. Saw a few new posts from him after a little bit of a hiatus. We love to see it. Adewale, Liv, Manic, Ideal, and on and on. All right, that's enough of that. All right, let's check the clock here. Soon. Rafik's coming soon. All right. What else can I tell you? Fire away in chat. You have a question for me? Now's the time. If you have a question about Dataland, we can get to that. I'll start showing some more stuff there very shortly, just in case Refik needs a few more. But if you have a question, hit me with it now. You can go Dataland centric, what happened this past weekend, on what's coming, or you can go digital art market centric, and we can dig in. All right. Let's go back here. Daily reports. All right. So what else can I tell you on the broader market? We talked about Fidenzas earlier. Fidenzas, a little bit of an uptick, certainly some stabilization. Terraforms, we're seeing two, mainly, maybe three collectors really target very specific terraforms. Of course, terraforms, the almost 10,000 artwork Math Castles collection released at the tail end of 2021. But we're seeing 2 to 3 collectors. One of my favorites, Shows Up Naked, Fellowship co-founder, targets some really interesting terraforms. So that collection continues to have legs, and is one of those collections I imagine will for quite some time. It's one of those. So those two are standouts for sure. Mike Stewart, I want to give this a shout out because I'm very impressed. Now, 24 Hours of Art, for scope reasons alone, doesn't typically lean into PFPs. It's a bit of if you do everything, you do nothing. And so you have to draw that line somewhere. I admit some of that is a gray area. Sometimes there are smaller batch collections that are covered. Sometimes the larger batch collections are not. And again, I want to stress strictly a bandwidth issue. And so that is one of the gray areas of the report. So Normie's never really in there from day one. But I have to say, as far as shining examples go in and across the tokenized digital art market, they're right there. And so Mike Stewart's referring to a custom normie created by Jack Butcher. We've seen this across several artists, including Alpha Centauri Kid, going to Adam Weitzman. Happy birthday, Adam. We saw this across DK Motion, that is. And so it's a very innovative, forward-thinking collection. And I think Cirque and team deserve a lot of credit for spearheading that in the way that they have. And it's doing quite well. And there's a reason for that. And so, and we love to see it. I love collections. This is not a phraseology that's unique to me, but I love a collection or a concept or an installation that's like an onion, right? When you peel it away, there are layers to it. There's depth to it. There's more discovery. And the innermost layers of it, maybe 2 to 5% of the totality of people interacting with it may even get there, may even grasp it, but that's okay because I think that's what makes the deepest cut longest term advocates. And this is certainly one of those collections. And on the episode last week of the damn show with 100 collectors, one of the things we did revisit, they did a mural outside NFC Lisbon. That was cool to see. So Mike Stewart, great shout. Karmic asks, who's going to be at 010 and Art Basel? Will you be? I've already outed us. We will not. We did the LA trip. Now we're back home. And obviously here for the show today. Have a great one next week, by the way, as well. Won't spoil it today, but it's a good one. All right, what else can I tell you in the art market? Keep the questions coming if you have them. Again, Karmic, Mike, 2 good shouts. Eyes on Switzerland. What else? I think masks have been interesting. I think masks, as far as, we're talking about collections of strength. I mentioned Fidenza. I mentioned terraforms of Math Castles, definitely going into masks territory by Sam Spratt. We saw NFT Laurent complete a masks set, meaning there are categories of masks. Typically, you're looking at, let's say on this one right here on this June 11th, you see 2 different color palettes, 2 different background color palettes. He's completed them all. And that's hard to do. And that's great to see. Over here, I would go to a little institutional placement spearheaded by AOTM Gallery, and that was DK Motion. We mentioned him earlier in association with Normies, and we'd mention him here as well. AOTM places with Heredium, and wrote a little bit about it that day because I wasn't as familiar with Heredium, but quote, cultural center for world-class art exhibitions and musical performances located in South Korea, founded in 2022. We love to see it. And Cosmo De Medici clarified that it was a paid-for acquisition, which always makes it a little extra special. So congrats to DK, congrats to AOTM on that. Karmic clarifies and adds another shout in relation to normies. Dario De Siena did a cool statue of Liberty edit of normie. Yeah, rarefied air. Not too many custom normies, but there is the potential to create more. Jack Butcher being the latest. We'd love to see it. What else? Jeff Davis on Art Blocks. This was a fun day right here. This was a really fun day. So we had the aforementioned masks. And I mean, hey, X-Copy back in town. It had been a minute. Many had commented on X-Copy being a little bit quiet. And not any longer. And I think the interesting thing about this is let's talk about that in a second. It's a collaborator collection called Privacy Matters. So the artwork this edition of 250, it is animated. This is a still shot. That's called Mission Creep. And that's X-Copy by Louis Osborne. Seems like they really appreciated one another. Louis seemed really stoked about it. I think it's just a very interesting collaboration. Well done. But then let's click through to Privacy Matters. We hit OpenSea for it. And there it is. Okay, so this Privacy Matters collection. Now, when I saw this, my immediate thought is, what happens next? And I think this probably, I do not know. This is pure speculation. I want to clarify this so don't get aggregated or, RD said. This is my speculation. It was my mind, what's next? And I think maybe it's a collaborative canvas. That would be my guess here, and that's super exciting. It could also be a continued series with Louis Osborne. That would be very interesting too. But either way, it seems to be a canvas and a collection that will continue. The last time we saw X-Copy release a collection was Fresh Hell, and it's gone on to see six editions, all of 42. So will Privacy Matters welcome in artist after artist? Again, will it be with Louis? Will they all be editions of 250 and keep that sort of accessible via allow list vibe going? I'm curious. Let's see what happens. And then, of course, if we continue going back, the collection we saw before that was, of course, Damage Control. That was the totality, basically the year, right? 2020, well, the end of 2023, but really this collection spanned 2024. Right? This was the X-Copy collection of 2024. So we've gone from Damage Control 2024 to a smattering of Fresh Hell 2025. Privacy Matters 2026, question mark. Let's see. I think the stage is set. Let's see what's next. So that's X-Copy. By the way, Refik says he's joining imminently. It'll be worth the wait. Okay, let's go back here. So I mentioned this is an exciting day, right? What also happened on this day, smack dab in the middle, is Jeff Davis. I mean, Jeff Davis is a vibe. He's been around a long time. He's an educator. He's an innovator. Just a very unique, almost meditative, soothing quality about his artwork. And we can see it here. Digital sketch. There it was. Give Jeff that shine. And there it was. 90 acquisitions and 100 artwork collection. Congrats, Jeff. And then Die with the most likes. How about that deep cut via Tezos? Die clearly building up to a new series. The previews of that have been fun. We, of course, if you've been around a minute, the damn show has some history with Die with the most likes. And someone who is, shall we say, tangential to Die with the most likes, Alfonso Knudsen. Have you seen that interview? Once upon a time, it was the most watched damn show ever. And we were only able to top it with 50 guests on a 24-hour consecutive live stream. That's how popular that show was. Will there be an interview around this next release? We shall see. What's Alfonso up to these days? Your guess is as good as mine. Maybe we'll crack that code one day soon. And what else? What else? So anyway, there it is. Die with the most likes, deep cut. We mentioned Delta Sauce earlier. That's part of that 8-nap release. Let's actually give that a little bit of shine. Let's see where that's at. Mentioned that earlier. Where is it? Where is it? There it is. Digital encounters. Boom. Ongoing series here. We see Evergreen Dazed. We see Vicky Bardot. Neurocolor. The unmistakable neurocolor. There's Delta Sauce. Look at that. 11 editions away. Congrats, Delta. And then this goes now into the first installment that they did. There's Modest, Noper, Anacondo, Infinite Yay, Gonaji. Some impressive works in there. Well done. 8-nap, Super Chief involved in that as well. Good to see. Let's keep things rolling. Let's keep things rolling. And let's see. Let's pick one more thing out. One more thing before we dig back into Dataland. And we're going to make that thing. How about the George Boya Panergita right here? Made this collage. Bottom left. This George Boya series, another collaborative series, has been ongoing for quite some time. Fun to give that a shout out. I'm going to gloss right over. If you're listening, I'm going to gloss right over that Gary Bird. Just kidding. Arsenic, Gary, congratulations. The 1 of 1. The addition. And right here, there it is. Emerald Suggestion. Collaboration between George Boya and Panther. She was on this show around the Batsoup Yum Lynette curation. That was the announcement that they were part of the Beeple Node show, taking over diffuse control with their curation. Panther was part of that. And exciting, we have someone backstage. All right, let's get this off the screen. Let's get him on screen. There he is, Refik Anadol.
Hello.
How are you?
Roger, so good to see you. How are you?
I am well. I feel like I was just there in this room behind you.
Yeah. There's a construction 6th floor.
There it is. Refik, so actually, you know what? Let's show. I want to show something we put together. I don't know if I imagine you were in a meeting, so you probably didn't see it, but we put together a little bit of a preview, and let's rerun that, and then let's dig into this together, and
Amazing.
let's add this to the stage now. Here it is.
Okay, we need to tell the world that what we do is, sure, our work, but the mission is way bigger than our work, right? We want to uplift the whole medium, like the whole medium. I want to show you, that's our control room. That is server room. I'll show you that later. That is called Connectome. So you're one of the first to see. Please welcome. So that is behind the scenes, truly. That is how we built the data pavilion. So everything you see here is custom built, engineered to make data pavilion. I mean, you know this, of course, now, Discovery Portal, we call it, but I love this transparency so much. Like when we tell the world that like what you are doing here with these data sets, where they come from, the openness and transparency here is overwhelming, I know. But it's what they are missing in data world, right? Like,
Refik, a little glimpse, a little preview.
thank you so much, Wink here. Thank you for literally the very first in this wonderful challenge and sharing with everyone.
It's an absolute pleasure. How are you feeling today after a big weekend that prefaces another big weekend? It's all big right now.
I'm so grateful that our guests that arrived happily. We had a wonderful moment with our community, with our collectors, supporters, investors, partners, sponsors, friends and families and team. Of course, the most importantly, the team was very much tired, of course, like getting it ready for such a hard project. We hosted a couple of thousand people last couple of days to be able to share the dream with. We had the city officials, state officials, our neighbors like the Broad Museum, Mocha, Hammer, Lakma, Music Center. Because when we think about Dataland, we didn't want to like create another just beautiful some artist-led experiments. We wanted to create something to move the medium forward. And we wanted to tell the world that how this medium should be presented, how we can contribute to more than just what we do, but how we can experiment with this medium like a laboratory of imagination. We learned very well that the partners, I'm calling them neighbors and partners, they're incredible institutions, but their focus is very targeted, like music center, music, opera, ballet, LA Philharmonic, exceptional quality of performing arts with music, Broad Museum, contemporary modern art, almost zero digital art in their collection. We become this kind of the missing kind of part of the fabric of the city. So it was very well received. It was very well, I would say, understood, and received exceptionally inspiring feedbacks because I think we did our very best to also bring our inspiration for the first exhibition, Yavanava family from the Amazonian rainforest. The chief said, I will be there with you. I would like to present my voice. I would like to tell our story. He is an incredible human that I hope everyone in the world can meet. And he said, I'll be there. I want to be present. And I would like to tell the world that what we do together for 5 years and also share the world what inspiration like could be. And again, just to let you know, they have inspired many movies in the past, but they have not been referred or shared as proudly as we do. And their language only 70 people speaking. He came to not only bless the first exhibition, shared his story. It was a so powerful moment. I heard wonderful notes from other cultural leaders that shows our respect, our care to their wisdom. And I think it was a very special moment that you witnessed all together.
It was very special, and like you said, shared the background, and had a chance to talk to you about your background. So got their background to the experience. I even really appreciated the story that there was a bit of a prophecy, right, in the
Yeah,
Yawanawa tribe, that there would
yeah.
be something along the lines of what you and Dataland became.
That was literally how the chief was explaining. So I know this sounds very interesting for many people, and I know that sometimes people feel disconnected when I say it. It's very normal. I think our life is so much interconnected to a very contemporary lifestyles, and I know that when we are in this pattern of life, we forget how beautiful nature is and how many more people exist on the planet. And what I felt truly from my heart 5 years ago when I traveled to the forest, that transformation of my mind, my soul, perception of life, I was waiting for an exhibition about it because it was so deeply inspiring. But I couldn't find any museum, I couldn't find any galleries, I couldn't find a moment to share it. But once we decide to create Dataland and its purpose, because we want to like create an institution with respect and love, not extract data or do the things going wrong with the AI experiments, I felt that this is the lesson I learned, and maybe we blend these emotions and feelings with the hardest challenge of humanity called AI, not replacing nature, not deleting nature, not creating alternative nature, but understanding nature, hearing nature, feeling nature in a way that we can't with our existing like perception systems, but go beyond that and still love and respect nature. I felt that it was a right and honest place, of course, with the blessings of the people that I inspired from. And then the whole team was excited. Everyone felt great about the idea. We all had a consensus that if we do something about the world's first AI museum of its own kind, it has to show the world good examples. It has to tell the world how it's done. Not a mediocre research, heavy work, no lazy work, travel to the forest with the gears, with the sensors, open source data, train sustainably. I mean, all the things we are missing right now, really, all the like current hysteria and paranoia and anxieties around AI is is true that they are real. But can we solve that? Like, can we show the opposite of that hysteria? Can we tell the world that, wait a minute, that did you know of that? Or a moment that just a moment before you like cancel this tool, did you just know that you can do that? Like, have you tried that? Like, because that's exactly the missing at the moment in society, and I think we don't have a place to go. Like, we don't have a place. Like, it's just there's like, where do I go about it? Like, I was just talking about the team. Like, where do we go? Like, about when we think about AI. Like, where do we sit together? Like, where do we? I mean, of course, social media and YouTube exist, but it's virtual feelings. There's community is still physical reality of life. We just want to like fill all these gaps for with Dataland's mission and vision.
You you have a bit of an impossible job right now. The Jensen Huangs of the world are looking at you. Show me something different.
Yeah.
Show me something that's never been done before. And I asked you this on site at Dataland. Why are you the person for that?
So first of all, I'm so grateful that our work not new, that we just do what we do. Our studio established end of 2014, so we are in almost 12 years coming. As a studio, we practice with machine intelligence now literally more than 10 years. So my understanding is the pioneers of the field is always looking how to create a pioneership to move forward these technologies. I'm so grateful that over the 10 years, our paths always cross with the pioneers. And they always found something syncing, connecting, and aligning the challenges. By the way, when I say that, people sometimes think that, oh, like he got some GPUs and some shortcuts. In fact, the opposite. They are challenging what doesn't exist. They're like wanting you to try things that are not possible. They challenge you to be in the hardest corner of that technology and find a way to get out of from that challenge. And that is, I think, what we were gratefully achieved over the years. Like if you go to 2016 with Jensen, he first collect our work. It was their first building coming up, and he was looking for artwork, and he was looking for like literally AI work. But they being one of those early pioneer days, they like our work because of architectural scale. And then 2018, they just started RTX, which is their like incredible technology, allows to create reflection real time. So he said, okay, why not we give you this GPU and the CUDA code, like a core code, why don't you implement a technique to create the first reflection in real time in the art history? I mean, it's a great question, but even the engineers who built the hardware and software was not able to debug the artwork, like that level. And then a year later, the Disney Hall projection, oh my God, 42 projectors, how do we compute it? Another. So what I want to say is like each partnership was a challenging. Like 2 years ago, when Jensen heard that, hey, like Jensen, we did an AI model that we need to create. We just need to like create some form of new ways. Like we can't just use available things. They don't like represent our vision and mission. We want a nature model, just nature data in it. We don't want to use other people's work. We don't want to like create, mushy, some random whatever model. But we don't have a compute. Like this is incredibly expensive and hard. And he said, sure, GTC, I'll be sharing the new GPU called Blackwells. Why not? You brought your data, NVIDIA will bring the knowledge, you will work with the team and create your own AI model. Incredible. And that was the moment that we generated LNM, large language model, and then run it real time during his presentation on a 16K resolution. And then well, I mean, 5 minutes before the experience, it was glitching, just let you know. Yeah, it's all on the edge, it's not nothing is normal, nothing is human scale, but it's super stressful world. And then when it runs, huge success. And I think being on that stressful, extremely ambitious, impossible to create moments leads up to these partnerships.
Speaking of partnerships, I'd be remiss to not mention Efson.
Yes, life partner.
Talk about that.
So I think it's one of the most incredible moment of life is being able to work together with someone I love and respect so much. So we are together for 18 years. And she has been always, when the idea, when a dream has a mission and vision, she always was present. I mean, we run the studio together, first of all, more than 10 years. But what we felt that I think she had the same vision and mission. She's an artist like me. She has her own practice. I think she will have her own experimental world that coming soon too. But as one of me, like a cultural leader of the field, she said that like it's our time to tell the world that how this medium can be presented, how this medium can be pushed forward. And she witnessed with me from the first like row, like when we were at MoMA, at Guggenheim, at Pompidou, at Serpentine. She saw and she witnessed like transformation of the digital art, that what it does to the people. Um, and and I think we perfectly aligned what we want to do, what we want to say. And she also witnessed the power of art making and how it transforms the perception of the society in general. And she's very resilient, by the way, about AI as well, like new technologies in general. I think in her interview, both LA Times, New York Times, took her statements very well, like saying like we are humans first of all. We created gods, we destroy gods, we create empires, we create societies. We did a lot as humanities, and I am not afraid of AI. I am in team human, pro human, and I will just be here to be just human and keep the human as creative. Um, so she's a very resilient mind and a warrior mind when it comes to the panicking and hysteria and fears. So we just both bravely believe that we just need to tell the world that there are other ways of doing this, and the future is bright. And let's build this. Let's build this, and don't talk, just build it.
That pro-human stand behind AI and show the way. You're answering a lot of the questions and fear factors of the public in real time. You're showing, hey, we've built our own model. We've ethically sourced the data. We've considered sustainable energy. And spoiler alert, you said one phone charge per museum guest
Yes.
is the equivalent. And you said in somewhere in the general ballpark of, if you hadn't jumped through all the hoops that you did, it would be ballpark 40x that per museum attendee if you hadn't taken all the steps that you did.
That's exactly the accurate one. So 3 years ago, I would like to go back that project. So World Economic Forum invited us to talk about the coral problems under the Aqaba and several oceans devastating results. And I believe one of the best thing an artist can do is move the world leaders. Just let them think, but not just talk, but think about the problem. So what I learned over the years is when the artwork in the right setting, in the right setup, with the right attention and the focus, has much more impact than throwing a soup on a painting. And I felt that this is the only way for us to tell the world at that moment, to tell the all like world leaders or also like technology leaders, take a moment, just a moment, look at this artwork, look at this, and just let's talk about this problem. I felt this extremely productive. And that project was the first time we were started to use the sustainable energy. So super honest and open, we emailed everyone. We emailed all the other cloud partners. We just asked this like, we want to be sure, we want to measure our compute, we want to measure our energy usage, and we want to be only in the setup that is using sustainable energy. Couldn't get the answer. But till that, the DeepMind friends, I think Nobel laureate and his incredible team, has been thinking about this for years. They were able to optimize energy usage of some of their cloud systems. And the team at Google Cloud was always happy and experimentally like, okay, we have this cluster in Oregon, and then, by the way, Little Netherlands. So do you want to experiment? There are like some bunch of GPUs here, not necessarily the fastest, but we are doing art. We are not in rush of like a product service. We want to make just great art and not harm nature. That's it. So that's how we found the cluster. And then they allowed us to use it. They allow us to create the infrastructure. They allow us to code on it, compute on it. That's how it started. And the last 3 years, all our projects, including Guggenheim project in Netherlands, in Bilbao, use that in Europe, in US when we compute, we are in Oregon, and of course Dataland here in Los Angeles, connected to the Oregon. And we may be the only one at the moment exposing honest and directly what AI does and what it uses also as data. But we just wanted Dataland to be that example. Simple. It took us 1.5 years of extreme challenge to program, code all these complex backends. But we got the support. They were like true partners, and they said, "Sure, like you want to experiment? That's a museum. We don't have millions of people here. We're not dealing with giant clusters, and we are not in the rush. We are fine with slow data, slow compute, all good." So then just we got it to the one iPhone or smartphone charging. By the way, less than, even not that, just to be sure, less than smartphone charging. 87% renewable energy used in that cluster, so significantly lowered than any other places on Earth.
It's one of my favorite aspects, just that as you stand behind AI so firmly, confidently, pro-human, that you have all of those things in your back pocket that you've worked for. That when someone comes at you and says, "What about this? Have you considered this? This is awful because you." Nope, we've thought about this, and you're able to present something really compelling. Look at the range of people that showed up, and will continue. I mean, hey, public open, by the way.
Yeah,
it's right around the corner. But as you mentioned, so many people, right, are passing through these walls. You're able to observe them. In a lot of cases, you're giving these tours. You're putting yourself out there. When you think back of all the challenges you faced, like 1,600 plus pages of permits and a pace and a schedule that the city's never seen before to get it all across the line to make it happen, and then you step back and you see this range of people, from city officials to institutional personalities to fellow artists, to on and on and on. How does that feel?
it's a huge joy, and I'm very tired. No sugarcoating. Extremely tired, in a good way, because it was super possible to do things more simpler, more easier, um, but I didn't think that was the right thing to do in this moment of time. And I mean, first of all, the art form that our community, I believe, represents digital art and art on blockchain and AI and advanced computation, code, software, whoever feels connected, media arts, interactive art. I just felt that it was just needed to like tell the world that there are ways of doing it so that it becomes the part of the society. It doesn't feel like some random group of small society movement, because given my dialogues across the world, I heard also sometimes, not necessarily caring about disciplines. There are people still don't believe machines can be used to make art. I met just recently in our Bruges museum, just one elder person came and say, "No, if you are using computer, I just don't believe it's art." Like, really? Like, even say like, "It's, you have a screen, it's not art." Like, what? Okay, like, why do you? It's only painting. It's only brush. Like, it's super strong. Like he, and and I respect that's a vision of a person and a belief, but and I still believe there are people like super reserved about like creativity's potentials. There are people that feels connected for a tool invented a couple of century ago. But I felt that, I mean, again, just from heart, just personal feeling, I witnessed the birth of internet and the Web 1 and the Web 2 and the Web 3, machine intelligence, AI, quantum computation. I mean, this is all happening in human life. That I felt that this is just the medium that I feel connected, that I didn't inherit from someone else or some centuries ago. Like, I don't even know why that tool exists, why that canvas exists. And of course, I can understand it, but I'm just saying I wasn't there. I didn't feel the moment that of necessity or uh, re- projection of that mind's eye of an artist to that tool. But on the other hand, living in digital space, communities and tools, I just felt that's just the right medium. That's the honesty from heart medium. On the other hand, still there are critics are super, don't want to connect with this form of there were people like saying, It's not done right. And I saw auction houses display this work not in the right way. I saw um, um, collectives experimented without pushing truly forward, rightfully get the critics saying that was a lazy one, that was this one.
Mhm.
I heard all those over the years, and that was this accumulation of, okay, like, also work with like the museums that we have huge respect and love, but see their limitations. Um, and it was this moment that, okay, like, just can we build it with this whole memories we felt? Can we leave behind us a version of this dream that tells a different perspective? Maybe make people shift their perception, that
Mhm.
see the edge of what is possible of this medium. And I know it's ambitious, but to show the world what is possible of what digital art could be, I think it has to be on the little bit edge of what is possible too, by technology, by compute, by design, by engineering. And we just want to be there to like see, okay, what is that madness of
Mhm.
possibilities?
Speaking of men, it's just a couple more questions, and I know you're on short sleep. You have a lot to do. We're going to get you out of here in a timely fashion. But one quick question from Deconstruct. He says, "How does it feel standing next to the GPU wall when it's running and computing? Must be an amazing feeling."
Oh, the one in the connector or in
Yeah.
the it's incredible. I mean, so first of all, it's all done in the studio. Number one, like all that cluster is done in the studio as a team, so that makes us very excited. Like to be, it's a part of the artwork. So it's not just another computer on the floor or just some hidden thing. While we intentionally hide every cable at Dataland, there is no cable. There is intentionally the technology disappears. Of course, I was always saying that I love to show, raw screens and cables and whatever's but that's a statement that I think can go to a gallery or museum. But what I felt is if the DNA of the idea is in the architecture itself,
Mhm.
that has to do something else. Now, Johnny Ivy, when he saw, I mean, he's a hugely respected, one of my hero as design, I guess, maestro. He said that I feel like it's the iPhone moment kind of for architecture, that very complex technology disappears and you just see final experience of life. That cluster is doing that magic to me, like the brain of the museum, uh, somehow. So it's a very inspiring feeling, and so hard. The teamwork, months of work. The team to connect 1.5 billion pixels. It's insane. The media fabric, that's called, by the way, that connects every single media um, in the museum. I think we are like our hardware partners are sending their like best engineers globally. Like, how do you solve that moment? Like they were like, this couldn't just solve it. And then um, that's what it does. That's the feeling of when it works, which is
Mhm.
working gratefully.
That's good news. It's good.
Yeah.
So, Rafik, last question. You're on the precipice, right? You're on the precipice of this public opening and unveiling in the city of LA, which I know is meaningful to you. The architecture, right? Get right, all of this incredibly meaningful time. When you project forward, operating on the bleeding edge, what does success mean to you of Dataland as a concept and an institution? If you project yourself forward in 6 months, a few years, and you look back, what does that mean?
I think we have multiple places to be successful. So first of all, I think for me success is making dream real. If
Mhm.
the dream becomes real, that's to me success. And I think to make the dream real, first of all, the first one was just getting this thing done in 16 months construction and 10 million plus lines of code and all that tier and unforgettable challenges. That's to me the success is right there. That it's not anymore a PDF, not anymore sketch or some render. It's real. It's just something we go together, we feel it, it's there. The second, I think, very important is community, which is where these things becomes real. So even though, yes, as a studio we uplifted as the first exhibition, there's tons of collaborations. We have Yavanava collaborations, we have Chocolate Chef collaborations, we have Sand Molecule collaborations, we have robotic collaborations, we have Smithsonian collaborations. By the way, you will see next month an exciting
projection in DC. What I want to say is Dataland is not me or studio. Dataland is accumulation of many people coming together. We have artist residency program that I believe one of the largest funding we found for artists, $100,000 to give back to the artists that never worked with AI before properly or experiment before. And hopefully next year we heard from Google Arts and Culture they want to double down. That more artists will be like allowed to experiment. So we'll like hopefully compound the add more and more and more and more artists to the like roster. With Mike, we were like people talking yesterday, create tons of events, tons of events. The other success to me, we are making by 20th of June, Living Encyclopedia is our AI service that we created for ethically and sustainably. It will be free for public. It will be the first AI model completely free for science and education and research and art making. And of course, humbly, digital art collection from our communities who have been underpreserved or for some reason didn't heard well, and be sure that we give back to the communities. So those are the signals and the symbols of what a success could be.
Look forward to it. Can't wait when there are iterations just coming back into the city and seeing this unfold. It's a thrill. It was a thrill being inside these walls, and appreciate you taking the time there. We have more to share on our end. A little preview. Wanted to have that ready for you in this segment and everything, but we'll have more to share, of course, as the week goes on. And just thank you for being so generous with your time on 4 Hours.
Roger, thank you so much being there. You have a so special role also in our community that I know very well, and I'm following almost every single day. So thank you so much for witnessing this together with us. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Refik. All right, everybody. Refik Anadol. There he is at Dataland. Public opening coming in less than a week now. Take care.
Thanks so much. See you soon.
All right. There he was, Refik Anadol. And backstage, the transition happens right here, right now. Dave Krugman, Windows. A window into Dave. Oh, there he is. Hey, Dave.
A literal window.
How are you, man?
Oh, great, dude. Great. That was such an interesting conversation. I have a lot that I can tie into that.
Yeah, it's what a time to be alive. What a time to be alive.
Truly.
Things are happening. I mean, I know sometimes we live in this day-to-day vortex, this 24-hour vortex, if you will, and some of those days can feel slow and disjointed. Other days can feel hyperspeed and fast. But I think the zoom out to see these types of bleeding edge facilities and concepts hit the light of day, not just, blueprints and theoreticals, but to actually get across the line. It's amazing.
Yeah. And I love two things. One is like one thing I'm thinking a lot about with this Windows project is how do we break out of our, echo chamber that we have. I think we have a beautiful hyper-connected community, mostly on X. But how do we build a bridge into the world of Instagram and Threads and the general art world at large? Because I think that for the longevity of this space, I think that's a really important thing for us to do. And then the other thing that he touched on that I thought was so interesting is this kind of idea around this knee-jerk reaction that somehow AI is an enemy to artists. That many people have in the art space. It's just such a like disservice to oneself to have that attitude, because this is one of the most enabling technologies I've ever encountered. And I'm a photographer. It should be a huge threat to me if I was aligned with that opinion, but I'm not. I'm actually so incredibly enabled by the technologies that I've been able to have access to. I'm as an ideas person. All of a sudden, every idea that I can build on the internet is within reach. An idea that would have taken, $100,000 and 3 years of development is like I can do while I'm having coffee in the morning now. And so I can iterate on all these, crazy concepts and try new things and discard most of them and then keep the ones I love. And without that fact, Windows wouldn't have been possible for me to build. So I very much appreciate his sentiments there.
Yeah, I love it. I love you had a power post, I believe, just yesterday about that act of pushing outside of, expanding the story, expanding its audience, reaching new people. Like you said, whether it's Instagram, Threads, on and on and on, whatever it is, it's looking outside of oneself, ourselves, for the greater good. I think it's important. And so you're one of the best I think you've had that philosophically as part of you for quite some time, but to hear you voice it, obviously in a moment when a lot of people are looking at you because your release is coming, which we're going to talk all about, but for you to voice that in that moment is important. People are looking, people are paying attention. You're conveying not only your new release, which is important, of course, but that message as well, which has extensions far beyond for many people.
Yeah, exactly. And, just one quick metaphor, because I can't help myself. But when people look at our space, they have a very, like the average layperson that doesn't understand that we're still a thriving, vibrant community. They have a very limited window into what we're doing over here, because most of their exposure to NFTs or crypto art or digital art, whatever you want to call it, was a couple headlines in 2021. And then they saw this huge bubble, rise and then collapse in on itself a bit, and they thought that's the whole story. And so their frame of reference, to belabor the metaphor, their frame of reference is very outdated, and they don't experience what we experience every day, which is we have this vibrant, interconnected, symbiotic kind of emotional support system of all these artists that are all co-invested in each other, and with this new technology where that is solidified by these tokens and the ability to exchange globally and instantly, it's a relationship building technology. And that's really why I'm doing this project, is because I'm trying to build a gigantic open social graph of our interconnected landscape. And I'm trying to, recreate the sensation of being in a city like New York City, where you have your individual apartment, where you feel very at home and maybe sometimes even isolated. And then you can go outside, like on Saturday night when the Knicks won, and you realize you're part of this gigantic, interconnected, living, breathing organism of a city. And all along the spectrum, you get to experience every single layer of humanity. And that's what we're trying to recreate on chain with Transient Labs.
Let's do a little audience refresh here, because we got a lot of people that want to say hi to Dave. On the tail end of Rafik's segment, Ryan Copeman's in the house. A big hello to Ryan and Alice as well. Congratulations, Refik and team. And then we have Fungible in the house, as we absolutely love the Dave Krugman. I think many concur. Victoria offers the 100% there. Marco and Transient Labs, when I close my eyes, all I see is windows.
Listen, when I open my eyes, all I see is windows. That's how burned into my retinas this stuff is. And we can get into all of that and how I put this all together. But suffice to say that I've looked at a lot of windows.
Yeah. Studio Payman here, LFG, Dave with an exclamation point. Art Crush here says technology does not take the work of artists away. It just raises the bar. Dave certainly does raise the bar. Let's bring digital art to the heart of millions on Instagram Threads and in the street through digital billboards. I think a lot of us can agree with that message. And then Mike Stewart, Dave rocks. So there you go, Dave. There's the red carpet for you.
Thank you. And shout out to Art Crush specifically, because, I've been talking with them a lot, and I think what they're doing is really, really beautiful. Putting up art all over. They're building windows into our world, all over the world, globally. For things that would cost artists a prohibitive amount of money, they're taking ad space and putting up artists for free. So I really, really appreciate them. And for anyone in New York, you might notice that there's thousands of taxi cabs driving around all this month and all next month, and they're showing windows everywhere. So if you see one of those, snap a shot, send it to me, and I'd love to see your perspective on that.
Get the shot. One more. And this is Stephen Miller says, I'll be keeping this browser window open until Windows is sold out. That's a heavy commitment. Are you planning on being awake for that? You're going to pull the all-nighter?
I hope he knows it's tomorrow, because that's a real long time from now. We got about 24 hours.
We're going to hold you to it. You said it. You said it here on the damn show. Dave, before we dive in, one more question, and it's going to relate to our history. We go back. We go back a minute.
Yes, sir.
Longer than a minute. We go back to 2021. I mean, I know you were around in 2020, but we really got closer in 2021.
It's been almost exactly 5 years since we really became friends.
Yeah. And even then, just getting to know you in 2021, you're a philosopher. You have a lot of heart. And when you were releasing from Drive to Drip Drop, there we go. When what you were poking at with the Nifty Gateway build and sort of the Drive backdrop and the story, the extension to that project, you've always been poking at ways to connect people to involve people, to just creatively expand. So kind of that philosophy you touched on earlier, I want to now tie it into your work. Do you see it that way? Do you see yourself as trying to imbue that spirit from the earliest days of you putting work on chain?
Absolutely. It's all one arc. I mean, I have a very, very core philosophy that I'm building around. And I think what I'd like to do here is describe, I think let's start with what this technology is, and then I'll layer over everything up to the moment we're in now. So basically, I've always made my living on the internet. I was from MySpace, I was an early Tumblr kid. Like I had my first big break on Tumblr. I was posting actually pictures of puddles on Tumblr. And a project manager at Google found that post that went viral. This was like 2012 or 13 or something. And Google ended up buying that puddle image, and it was the background shot in every advertisement for the Google Pixel 2. You can Google this right now. It's a puddle shot. It came on every phone. It was my biggest distribution of all time.
Let's pull this up. What's the proper Google?
Just Google Pixel 2.
Google?
And every image will be this image. Yeah.
Pixel 2.
So I'll keep talking while you pull it up. But basically, see the one down with the guy with the umbrella. Yeah, right there. That's it. So this was on every billboard and in every Verizon store, and still is the advertising image. And this began my fascination with puddles. And so this was, in a way, the genesis of drip drop. But we'll get into the drip drop thing. But basically, the problem with the internet is that it's an advertising distribution mechanism. All the incentives are aligned around commercial advertising. It's all attention economies. And that's the only way that people were funding the internet for a very, very long time. And it was always a very tough deal for the artists, because basically the deal that was made was we will distribute your work across the internet, and you will give us all of your work for free for no licensing fee. And in exchange, you get the privilege of reaching your audience. And in 2011, 2012, that was very novel and extremely worth the arrangement, right? Like if I can reach, if I can have a printing press in my pocket, I want that. I'm going to do it. And that's how they got audience capture. But over time, when they started to make hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars off of our content, that deal never adjusted to the new realities of the internet. And so basically what happens is it becomes a more feudal system where we're rent payers and we're paying rent with our time and attention and our energy and our creative content. And they're selling advertising against our efforts. And we don't get any of the upside. We don't get any of the economic upside of that arrangement anymore, right? And so, there are deals like YouTube. If you have millions of followers on YouTube, you can make a living that way. I think revenue sharing is a great way to do it. But there's a new system, which is the one we're all building together, which is a peer-to-peer, always on consensus-based currency exchange system where we can all invest in each other and all support each other. And so the key unlock here is that we finally have digital objecthood. We have digital things. And now, so we can have digital markets in the same way that we have markets for real objects and real things. There's a very small difference between a printed Pokemon card on cardboard and, an image assigned to a token on blockchain. The conceptual leap between those two is actually much smaller than you would think, because, it's just creating scarcity around an object and then creating a market around it. So what that does, having these digital objects has unlocked something really special for us. And for me, the way I understand what NFTs are is NFTs are an object, but they're really a container for community capital. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is we on the internet generate a tremendous amount of value through our community building, through the attention we generate, and through our ability to tell stories and connect with people. Networks are value. The root of all value is network. Previously to blockchain, it was very hard to capture the value of those networks because it was all flowing upstream to these juggernaut advertising companies, right? What we've created is this little side chain of the internet where we can capture all of the value, not all, but 90% of the value of our artistic efforts. And that can be stored and traded, as a commodity in these containers. And so every piece of art I issue is a little container that represents my efforts and my impact within my network state. So if you're tracking me, basically, the value of the tokens I distribute is dependent on my ability to kind of charge them up with energy, attention, philosophy, ideation, thinking, value exchange, and so many other ways, like, writing articles about people, jumping on spaces, communicating my ideas. The more people, the more connections to my node and this giant interconnected shared network, the more valuable those containers become. Now, a cool way to think about this too is if you distribute too many containers for the amount of energy that you're generating, then the power of each container is diffused across the network. If you release an amount of tokens that you can manage and sustain and build attention and excitement around, the value of each container increases. So if you think of every token you issue as an artist like a little battery, then you need to be able to generate enough energy and attention to keep those batteries well charged. And if there's too few, then you're wasting energy. It's dissipating into other networks. And if there's too many, then those batteries are declining in value. So the way I try to think about releasing art is my task is to generate value for the network that I'm participating in. I've tried to do that in many ways, with all ships, community building, with offering to help artists, with showing up on the timeline every day, with connecting with artists in the background and collectors, and just creating social experiences for people. And then within my actual projects, I try to create mechanics that also encourage this level of participation and excitement. For example, with Drive right here, not only have we built an entire storyline around on the scaffolding of these tokens, right? With merch and you went out and shot the posters all around New York City, and we've done
I took
dinners
great pride in tracking those posters now.
Dinners and car shows, like literal car shows in New York and Marfa, like everywhere. Like this is as much of a brand as a real car dealership to me. And that's one way that I can generate attention around those tokens. The other way is that I held back some of those batteries, some of those containers for the treasury, so to speak. And every time I need to inject attention into my ecosystem again, I do a Drive race where I say, hey, go on the timeline, post a Drive car in your own style. So I can encourage people's creativity, adding value to their life, because they realize, oh my God, I can take a picture just like Dave can, right? And then also it generates this beautifully efficient attention flywheel, because every time they post, it boosts up the awareness around Drive and what I'm doing. So that's just one example. And a lot of those same mechanics are going to be embedded in Windows as well.
I love it. I love this battery analogy. It's a good one. I'm very fond of the magnifying glass analogy, like an artist's energy. But I think the battery works better. I typically use the magnifying glass where if someone stays fixated or focused on something for a prolonged period of time, it's like the magnifying glass holds the beam of light, and then eventually there's a fire that bursts out. But I think the battery is more widely applicable. So leave it to Dave.
Well, one reason I love the battery analogy is because we're in an interconnected electronic network. I mean, this is literally energy. It's like literally flowing through. And you could go so deep on this analogy, but like literally, like the more phone screens my art is lighting up, like I'm actually burning electrons. Like it's actually like an energy exchange, like physically. And so I don't want to get too deep in the weeds. I know we have a lot to talk about, but anybody who wants to talk about this stuff, shoot me a DM. I'll nerd out about this all day. I love it. It's so fun.
So Dave, let's set the table, because we have some fun stuff. I mean, you need to tell us, tell the dam, tell 24 hours of art. I mean, we need to get some people taking an action of some sort if they want to. We have a couple fun things. What do we have?
Well, if people want to share out this show right now, I wanted to save a few, allow less spots for them. So I think, we've agreed that that's going to happen. And then we've also, added some allocation for holders of 24 hours of art as well. And so, if you have one of these passes, like, again, this is about value. There's very few groups, and I'll try to make you blush, Roger, but very few leaders of groups that have added more value to this network than what you're doing. I mean, the informational landscape here is the thing that will change the tide for this entire space. Information is power. The stories that you are telling are the stories that counteract those, unfair headlines that people love to just dunk on something they don't understand. And there's so many people out there that are willingly misunderstanding what we're doing over here because it's so much easier to hate something than it is to learn a new thing about the world. That's why there's so much division in this world. And I was this is such a random aside, but I was at a stamp convention with my girlfriend because her uncle is a stamp collector. Learned a lot there, honestly, about collectibles and how to operate in those spaces. But there was a quote I read about when they were first starting, like the original mail systems in England, and it used to be so prohibitively expensive to send a note across the Atlantic Ocean that almost nobody could communicate across these gaps. Like, the aristocrats could, but the average worker couldn't afford to send a letter that far. So they created this postal system. It was penny stamps. And basically it made it affordable for communication to happen. And the quote when they did this was basically, wars break out in the silence between peoples.
Mm-hmm.
And that is really, really important. And the silence, if we can fill that silence between us and the people that don't understand what we're doing with better information, real stories, and stories of artists succeeding with this technology. And like me, my entire creative practice is now funded through this technology. And I get to do this every day and have the time to shoot 1,000 puddles. And, I shot 5,000 windows to get a good clean 1,000. No, there's no other way for me to get that sort of time, to buy back my time from the world, except for all of these people coming together and chipping in a tiny little bit for every single piece of art. And then together we can build these incredible dynamic art systems together on chain. So what you guys are doing is amazing. And I just wanted to make sure that anybody who holds the 24 hours of art passes has an opportunity to participate in our pre-sale tomorrow at 12 p.m. EST. I do want to say it's first come, first serve for our pre-sale. So if people want one, I'm recommending people come early. A lot of this is just out of my control, and there's nothing I can do. We have to over allocate because you don't know how people are gonna how people are actually gonna act with their allocation. So
yeah, as we've learned, as long as you don't say guarantee and then over allocate that, we've learned that recently.
Yes.
out there in the space. But I think the preface is accurate. It's spot on. I think everyone gets that. But thank you for seeing that. I think, again, I'm a flower deflector. I would go right back to you as far as being one of the beacons that people rally around for good reason. And also, in your unique way, and like Refik and I talked about this earlier, as far as the example that Dataland setting, you in your way, you are setting a community example that is, you have a lot of social media experience and expertise, and you've thought deeply about these topics. And the fact that you can riff, and we could probably do a whole other show on that, it's you are leading the way there. The post you shared out yesterday being a leading example there. But let's show some windows.
Hell yeah, man.
I think that's important. I think actually, you know what? Sorry, I'm going to cliffhang that one more step because I have to share something first. I thought this was something super clever that you did that I had the good fortune to be a part of. We got on a call together.
Mm-hmm.
And look at this. Collect calls. And look at this. A payphone. Dave, tell us about this concept. So I just think this concept is also, it's very you. Like it's creative, it's inviting, it's you tell the story. What is this?
Honestly, it's funny. I just got emotional because this is such an important idea to me. But okay, so back to this idea of value. Every call I take with somebody, somebody like you, and every call I took is that's somebody giving me their time. Money is one way to sell art, but money is just a medium of exchange. What you're actually exchanging when you exchange money is you're basically side chaining value and saying, okay, I'm going to give you this thing that represents value, and then you can save it and spend it later on something else. The actual valuable thing is time, or resources, but resources take time, and it's all interconnected: money, time, resources. And so I say that all to say that there's so many ways to distribute art and to distribute value. And so if you are giving me value by, you talked with me about Windows, and, we arranged this call, and you gave me some great ideas and helped me, structure this thing in a way that made sense, and it was very, very valuable to me. I thought, the least I could do is provide some value back. And so I created this edition of 100 payphones under a contract called Collect Calls. And basically, I didn't tell anybody about this beforehand because I didn't want to incentivize the calls. I didn't want people to farm calls with me to get an edition. But after every call, I said, listen, I really appreciate your time. I would like to send you an edition. And I sent this payphone. It's like very much the Matrix, right? It's like you pick it up, you're back in the Matrix. And then I also wanted to make everybody a part of it, to know that they're a part of this art just as much as I am. You'll notice there's a window behind the payphone. That was very important. There's some New York in there. I don't know where it went. Okay, there. And if you zoom in on it, I don't know if you can on this interface, but you could probably Command plus in a little bit. I don't know if that'll work on your stream. But you'll notice that all the PFPs of everyone I've talked to so far are stickers on the payphone. So because I can update my metadata through Transient Labs, I just would take their profile picture, make a sticker, put it on, update the metadata. So look, it's just another way to distribute art and build a network around the specific window of time when I needed some help and I needed some advice. And it's a literal token of my appreciation. What's fun about this is that also every payphone is an allow list slot to mint a window, because the Windows section, the 1 of 1,000, is gated to just my collectors for 2 hours. And so everyone I got on a call with has the opportunity, if they choose, to mint at least one window. First come, first serve.
Get in there if you're interested. Zoom in, because there's all sorts of fun PFPs and referential images, and I have the great honor of being placed right next to Brian Brinkman.
Another incredible power plant in this space, just generating tremendous amounts of value for everyone around him. And a lot of my projects I've learned a lot from him, suffice to say, and he's been extremely helpful. And also Brinkworks holders all have allocations as well.
Love it. Love it. By the way, Johnny, real quick question. Hi, Dave. How many guaranteed whitelists will you give us? Is a very direct question.
Well, that sounds like someone who hasn't been listening to everything I've been saying. So, Johnny, I appreciate the question, but look, we have a friends and fam, first come, first serve, pre-sale. It's discounted. I'm recommending that people come early because there's no way to truly guarantee, and we don't want to disappoint anybody. So that's my answer.
All right. There we go. Look at that, Dave. What are we looking at? Tell us all about everything Windows.
So this is just a little explorer. Our Mint site is going to be a little more, dynamic and interesting, and that's going to be a really fun reveal. But for now, people can go to this website. You can just go to davekrugman.com. It's very obvious where this is. And this is just a couple different ways to engage with this collection. You can click on any one of these windows, and it'll pull up a nice light box. And you can then, from here, you can just click through. You can exit back out, and you can just see what some of these outputs will be.
Dave, stop there. Hold on.
Yep.
Tell me when to stop and give us an anecdote. Give us one story around one of these windows.
Okay. Let's see. Keep going. I want to get you a good one. Let's see. Let's see here. That one. Go back to that one.
Boom.
So I've shot this over 5 years. And so I have shot this over many different seasons. And one thing that's really, really fun about this is so many things change. What's so fun about shooting windows is I can go out down the same street one night later and every window is different. Either people are changing what's in their windows, the lights are on or off. It's a completely different random sample every single minute of the day. So it's a generative landscape I'm walking through, which is why these fit so well as a generative grid system that we're going to do with the buildings, right? Because the city, I always think of the city as like a random generator. When I go out and do street photography, it's randomly generating scenes and people and interactions and overlaps and the confluences of circumstance that make this world so beautiful. But when you focus down into something like just cars or just puddles or just windows, even within those subsets, there's this infinite fractal randomness. And, a shot like this is like these are seasonal displays of like, this person obviously cares about what they're showing to the world, because one thing about Windows is like, your window is public facing. It's the only public facing part of your private vessel, right? So it's like your eyes to the world and the world's eyes to you. And that's why it's such an interesting thing to study. And I've learned so much about life and people and the way they want to be seen and the way they want to be perceived, and the whimsy or the lack of whimsy, or the boarded up or shuttered or advertisements. Windows are portals of communication. And I hope through this project we can all connect and communicate in that way. I want to show you another way to explore this collection because I think it's so interesting. If you click out of this, and then you go to infinite fractal scroll.
Ooh.
What's so fun about this is that you can scroll forever, and you can scroll in any direction. So swipe to the side.
Oh, that's fun.
And it will just constantly regenerate from our set.
Ooh, the Chucky window.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a spooky one for sure. There's a lot of Halloween. There's a lot of different angles. But this is a really fun way to encounter the collection because it forces, like, when you see things together, like, it forces different experiences for you. And when you see them at different sizes, it enforces different experiences as well, right? So like, if you see one that's super tiny and then you see it big, you might have a different reaction to it. And so I encourage people to go to the site. I do want to caveat that this is pulling from like the full pool of windows, and we've actually culled it down to the final 1,000. So I would say like 99% of these windows will be in the drop, but there's a few that didn't make the cut. So just want to say that. But for now, these like the Kung Fu, like, all these incredible examples, this is just a really, really fun way to explore the dynamic nature of this collection. And it almost looks like modern stained glass,
Yeah, this is a great thought to put it together in this way.
It's addictive. Like, it's really hard to stop scrolling. I think this taps into something like fire burning, or like this kind of like infiniteness of the world experience.
If I just trail off in this interview and you just lose me and just see the screen keep on going and going. Okay, where to next? So that's
okay. So
that's the fractal
I want to show
viewer.
one more thing. So go to play the memory game.
Yeah.
This game has ruined people's days.
Ooh, look at this.
So I don't know if you ever played Memory, but it was this card game, and basically you start, they're all down, and then you flip over 2 random ones. So click 2 random ones. And then it's like, nope, those don't match, but you kind of remember where they are, right? And so eventually you start to uncover, and it starts very hard because, they're very small, but when you get a successful one, they stay flipped over, right? You get a little indicator and boom. And so basically we have a leaderboard and everything. And some people cheated, and I'm deleting them from the leaderboard. But later today, we're going to do something special. I don't know exactly what we're going to do, but I'm going to do something special for the winners of the leaderboard eventually. But I need to fix the game first. So if you're going to play the game, I'd hold off for now and let me fix it, and then we'll start again. No, you can play, but just for the audience, I don't want people to spend hours getting the best score because there's some people, some white hat hackers hacked some scores and let me know how to fix it. So I got to do that. But anyway,
I'll take a good crack at this later.
The point of this is that we can create experiences around this art, and there's a million experiences I'm going to create around this art. And what this does is it kind of embeds the memetics of these works into your mind. I've had people message me and be like, I played the memory game so many times. Like, I have favorite windows. I have ones I want. I have ones I want in my building grid. And it's just, if you can, again, generate ways for people to experience the world that you want to build, and that adds attentional stickiness. And that attentional stickiness is very helpful in supercharging all the batteries that you've released. I think it might be worth it just describing how this all fits together if you're down.
Let's do it.
So yeah, maybe go back to the fractal scroll for the background here, and I'll talk about it. Okay, here we go. So there's concurrent mints tomorrow at noon. EST, and the pre-sale lasts 2 hours, and then it goes to public after that. Okay. Now, there's the Windows collection, which is one of 1,000, and then there's the buildings collection. These are partner collections underneath the umbrella of Windows NYC, just to be clear, because there's some, people were asking me about this earlier. Now, these collections are inextricably intertwined. They cannot exist without one another, which is really fun. So all of the 1,000 windows, it's going to be a blind mint that's gated to the holders of my past projects. And there's different allocations for different things that you hold, and I'll explain all of that on the timeline tonight. But what's interesting here is that once everybody has the windows, right, buildings are going to be minting at the same time. And all of the buildings are randomized grids at randomized sizes of those same windows. And there's no two buildings that are the same. They're all different orders and different windows. The windows cannot repeat internally in a grid, but they can repeat across grids. Like you can have the same window in different buildings. So this is like literally stitching together these two collections. Mm-hmm. And what's so fun about that is if you, Roger, own a building, and in that building you have a window from Brian Brinkman, from me, from Sam Spratt, from Refik, from Benny, from whoever, they all live in your building because their window that they own and their wallet is associated with is in your building. They are your tenants. And what that does for us as a community is it takes our giant social graph where we have all these interconnected wallets and all these things that are happening, and every building becomes a subset, a little carve out, a little micro social graph. And that's actual data that we can use in the future. So, I might in the future be like, I'm going to make a 1 of 1 of X project that's only for buildings holders, just like I did with payphones, right? So I could drop you as a building holder a work of my art, just automatically, programmatically, because I know what building is yours, right? But then I could say, hey, take a look at who's in that building. And I have a list of wallets of all the windows that were referenced and who's the current owner of that window, because the owners can change. And then so I can airdrop all your tenants an addition. Mm-hmm. And other, okay, I'm going to come at this from another angle now. So like, let's say another artist owned a building and they had a grid of 9. And they said, you know what, as a building owner, I want to incentivize people to move into my building so they can go buy up some of the windows that are in this building. And those people all get a 1 of 1 of 9 of a new collection I'm going to make. And so I think it's an interesting framework for us to explore together. And I think that the best ideas around what we can do with these sorts of social graphs is actually going to come from other people. I don't think I've thought of the best way to use this yet. I have my ideas and I have my plans. I'm always thinking about how to do this, and everything I've said philosophically about batteries and charge and energy flow all relates to this. And I will be employing that type of thinking around how to use these networks. But I think that the emergent behavior of our city population is going to be the most interesting thing to witness. I'm just going to quickly flesh out the rest of the structure while we're here. All of these buildings culminate in our 1 of 1, which is the city. Mm-hmm. And the city is like a galaxy of light. When you go to the website and you look at the Explorer, it's just going to be like this like Milky Way galaxy of windows because it's all the buildings, right? And then there's going to be a state as well where you can just look at all 1,000 windows together to see the beautiful collection. That's also coming with a physical light box, which will be very beautiful. But the reason I want to do a light box is because windows should be illuminated from within. And so I think, the tests I've made are just so beautiful. So the owner of the 1 of 1 will get that physical, and then they'll also be the kind of owner of this dynamic interconnected city. So we have the individual level of the windows. Then we have the interconnected community layer, which references the windows below. And then that's 1,000 windows, 4,000 buildings, and then the city. And then between the buildings and the city, there's another layer on the city contract where we have 20 different neighborhoods, and neighborhoods are going to be our biggest grid size, separated out from the buildings. And people can inquire with me about how to get one of those. But one way you can get one of those is that we're holding a few of them back. And at some point after the drop, we're going to airdrop those ones to top holders of buildings, to the top property owners within the city. Okay. And what's fun about that layer is that those ones, you can either accept your randomized grid, or you can get on a call with me and we'll build your custom neighborhood out of all the windows you like. And you could even build off the wallet addresses of people you want in your neighborhood. And so it's very Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. I'm very inspired by him.
You
That's
preempted
basically the whole structure.
You preempted a question on my mind. You probably knew it was coming. But it was, are there shortcuts, right? Where if there is a tenant, if there's a landlord out there, a prospective landlord who is very interested in curating the tenants of their building, sounds like neighborhoods is the way to go.
That is the only way to literally handpick your building. But I just want to be clear, that's happening post-mint.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, if you inquire about a neighborhood now, you're just inquiring about how to get one. And some are already committed. You know, I'm prioritizing people that have supported me in the past. So if anybody is in that position and wants to hear more about it, they can reach out to me.
So in the meantime, it's the DIY. They get in there, address your building, take a look at your tenants, invite people to.
I want to be clear, because I know I've just dumped a lot of information and it all gets twisted up. But basically, when let's start with one building. If you mint a building, you can't control who's in that building. It's going to be a random seed based on ETH hash, right? Because this is fully code, algorithmic generative art. That's very important to me. But if you had 9 windows in your building and you wanted 9 friends in it, or 9 artists that you love, the way that you could do that is those windows won't change in that grid, but you could either buy a building that did have the grid you wanted, or the owners that you wanted, the tenants that you wanted rather, or you could try to go to the genetic layer, the atomic layer below, and incentivize people to trade windows with each other, or make an offer, or make a deal, or give 2 windows for that window. Or I think the economic game of this all is going to be super, super interesting to watch unfold.
Can't wait to see who those building landlords become. Jennifer from One Love says, "Hi, I think the Lightbox is incredible, as is every layer of this project." And then Studio Payman says, "We loved playing the memory game with wife and daughter." And then 3/4 also saying, "Such a great project." And Karmic is scrolling right now, probably still scrolling. I think if we weren't talking, I'd still be scrolling.
I love it. It's a fun way to explore it.
So Dave, you're on the eve, man. This is all happening, and it's happening tomorrow. How are you? I want to check in with you. How's your energy? How's your sleep? Are you eating?
Yes. I have a sandwich waiting for me.
Good.
But these moments are always a mix. I release things very infrequently, because again, I have this very specific mentality around what we're doing here. To me, this is not just minting. I'm not just minting JPEGs. I love photography. I think photography is enough, but I think the point of the blockchain is that it's a canvas. And the ideas that I have, both in the past, the present, and the future, are all woven into that idea. They're all experimentations and the exploration of the fertile ground that has been given to us. And they are remixes of other incredible ideas I've seen. They are just experiments on what's possible. And one of the reasons I love that the space is still so small is, one, we all know each other. And this is good. We're going to look back at this and we're going to miss these times. And the other is that there's so few participants relative to the amount of people that are actually in the world, that there are an infinite fractal of ideas out there that have never even been thought of yet. And we have some of the most innovative minds in the world who are experimenting with these tools. And so like, there's 15 ideas I have in my head right now that I've never seen done, because so few people are playing in this playground. So as I'm just saying this to the artists out there, like, there has never been a better time to be an artist. And if you're an artist on blockchain, there has never been more space to push into. You know, you have this infinitely fertile ground, and you've hands full of seeds, and you can just walk around and just throw them like on the ground and water what you will. And some will die, some will thrive. But if you don't scatter those seeds around and try, no one else is going to do it for you. So how I'm feeling right now is I feel very supported. I feel very, very validated. I posted Windows on Instagram 2 weeks ago. It's the most viral thing I've ever done in my entire life. It has almost 2 million views on one post, which to me is just like 2 million, like insane. And that to me is validation enough for the idea, right? It's people are saying, you did something, you had a crazy idea, you executed it. It made me happy to see it. Kudos. That is like enough for me as an artist. What I would like to see happen tomorrow, and where my nerves start to like come in and I start to get this anticipatory like jitters, are I want to prove that this is economically feasible.
Yeah. I
want to prove that we can renegotiate our relationship with the internet. I want to prove that there's a better model out there for artists to make a living online. One where they don't have to sacrifice their mental health. One where they don't have to constantly adjust their output to satisfy algorithms designed for advertising. One where they can make the things they want with no creative interference from anyone else. There isn't a soul on earth who had influence over Drip Drop or Windows or Drive besides me. And that means that I can do what I want. And I have creative freedom. The ultimate goal of this space, in my opinion, is to create more sovereignty for creative people in this world. It is hard to be a creative person in this world. I can't work at a 9 to 5. I'm looking out the window being like, get me out there. I want to be in the giant generative sculpture of the universe. I want to be observing. I want to be talking to new people. I want to see the joy, the pain, the unbelievable unfolding of the life experience. And I'm not going to do that in an office. And so I want to prove a creative life is possible. I want to prove that this technology is the most enabling and the most surefire way to find that path for yourself. And so my goal for tomorrow, and my goal around this project, and the goal of my team at Transient, is to build systems and to prove that these systems work, and that through the collective participation in creative concepts, we can build a more creative world and a more beautiful internet.
Hear, hear. Hear, hear. Another fan in the house, Pinstripe Gator, friend of both of ours, simply says, hello, handsome fellas. I'll defer that one over to Dave. Pinstriped, a Philadelphia fan for the day. Pinstriped, enjoy that game. And then Verdandi says, creative sovereignty on the path. Let's go. Dave, any address the dam, address the audience.
Yeah, I mean, there's one more thing I didn't say, but because it's not coming on Mint Day, but it's going to come. There's two things, actually. One is that I'm really excited to explore another concept around this project, which is we've built like this concept around a postal system. So there's going to be messaging involved where we're using the blockchain as a communication system. And I'm not at liberty to really say much more about how that all is going to function in this project. But that is a huge part of this.
Liberty? If you're not at liberty, who is at liberty?
I'm not at liberty to my own rules set in my head. I'm sovereign. I decide. But no, I kid. But basically, that's an important part of this. And just like Drive, where I'm incentivizing this participation and this attention flywheel, we're doing something very similar here. And so there will be a lot of interconnectivity that will be coming. And this project is just the beginning. You know, this mint is the beginning of the actual project, right? We don't mint and then walk away. We mint and now we have a world to play with. That's true for Drive. That's true for Drip. That's true for everything I'll ever do. So I just wanted to note that. And I think that the emergent behavior around that communication will be as interesting, if not more, as the emergent behavior around these buildings and social graphs, right? The other thing is that we're going to do, I'm really interested in building a bridge between our world and, the 99.99% of artists and art enjoyers out on the internet who don't participate in our space. I want to open a window for them to look into something beautiful and to see our community for how beautiful it is and how effective it is for artists, right? And so what we're going to do is I'm going to do a print sale in the weeks following that's just prints. And they will be completely unique. They will not mirror any tokens. It'll be a unique grid size and everything like that. There will be no doubling up or anything like that. And I'm actually holding back a bunch of building mints, a couple hundred building mints, so that when people who have no wallet, have no participation in our ecosystem, when they buy just a print for their wall, which my mailing list is already 1,000 people from the Instagram post, when they buy that print, I'm going to take a select subset of them, email them an offer to personally onboard them and give them one of these tokens as well. And I think that through these types of interactions with people on the outside of the space, I think that if other artists do this as well and create products that meet people where they're at, then I think that's the best way for us to break out of our secret garden and into the larger world. Because I love NFTs, I love blockchain art, but I look at it as one component of my artistic practice. My artistic practice is books, postcards, prints, light boxes, travel, mentorships, teaching, galleries, dinners, everything, a whole world around creativity. And I want to show the people that are interested in everything but this, that it's this too. And that's really, really important to me. And I guess I'll leave you with that, because I think, one, I can prove to them that what we're doing is worthwhile and extremely valuable. And then the other thing is I can prove to us that we can also participate in that world as well. To the fullest extent.
You're making me think, and I think you talked earlier about the importance of expanding outside comfort zone, expanding in other places, right? So that's a sort of a real estate question, right? Expanding to an Instagram or to a Threads or to a TikTok or whatever your place and your passion is, and where your interests lie. It's all great, right? But then now we get into, it's like the attractiveness of passion, right? Like you made me think about why I learned decentralized wallets in the first place. Because I came in first in 2020 through a centralized marketplace. They allowed you to take your artworks out of the centralized marketplace, but you didn't have to operate outside that bubble if you didn't want to. Why I learned decentralized technology outside of coins, I'm talking about for art specifically, was Victor Mascara.
Love Victor.
Because there was an artwork of his that I was so passionate about, and he was standing behind the technology and saying, this is where that artwork's released. This is what I'm doing with that artwork. And you bridge that gap, because if you either, maybe the person, maybe you're just obsessed with the art, maybe it's both, like that's a magnet. It's a magnet to get over hurdles. And I think ideally one day those hurdles lessen and lessen and lessen. But for now, I think it's largely you yourself, Dave Krugman, standing confidently behind what this is and being willing to hold those buildings back, sell prints as you maybe normally would, but then give that subset of people, say, hey, I have what could be your first ever, right, NFT. I don't know if you'll frame it that way or however you frame it, it could end up being that person's first NFT. I think artists offering that type of a pathway to someone who's interested in their world, that is absolutely how adoption takes place.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And, I'm a huge comedy fan. I love going out to see comedy in New York, and I just love humor in general. And, one of the tenets of improv, and life is really all improv. We're all just winging it, right? It's yes and. You never say or, you never change the flow. You say, if somebody does a bit, you're not like, well, actually, no, it ruins it. this is a yes and situation. Yes, blockchain and prints and this and that and posters and movies and everything, coffee table books. Yes, and all the way through. And so that to me is the North Star. And I have full, complete, unabandonable faith in our movement. And I guess one last thing as we get down to the wire here is here's what I want to say. Every single art movement in human history started this way. It's not like the Impressionists came along, everyone was like, oh my God, this is like, the whole world's like, this is the new thing. No, they hated it. They said it wasn't art. They said this is dumb. It's not art. Not only is it not art, it's a betrayal of art. The surrealists, Warhol, the pop artists, this everyone, Picasso, people hated this stuff. You can go look back at old articles. I recommend everybody does this. Go look at what the critics were saying about every single art movement and what they were saying about photography in the early days of photography. People were writing about photography and they were saying, this should be banished to the scientists because it's only a good way to record the world, but it's not art. And look how well that held up. It's absolutely ridiculous. And so we're in that moment right now where the whole world is telling us this isn't a real thing. But we know better because we're in it and we experience the emotional connection and we experience the binding force of this technology for relationships. If I have a little bit of digital object of somebody else poured their heart and soul into this little container, and then that represents, that's like this literal bridge between us. It's this thing that we both orbit, and all those orbits and like it's this whole galaxy of interconnection. We know what that feels like. That's why we're still here through every high, every low, 6 years now for me of this stuff. And it's like, there was many moments where it would have been easier to walk away for many of us. And a lot of people did walk away. And I don't blame them because it was very, very hard. But we stick it out because we understand that this makes so much sense for the era of the interconnected internet. And yeah, I just am excited. And I appreciate so much that you took the time to talk to me. I love speaking about this stuff. I love the philosophy. And so thanks for teeing that up for me. And yeah, got mad love for you, Roger. And fingers crossed that tomorrow we can prove something together.
It's a pleasure, man. Dave and Transient Labs. I mean, I think anyone who's been around me in 24 Hours of Art, obviously I have a lot of love for those guys. And so, yeah, great pairing. And a couple more notes from people in the house. But Pinstripe says he wants to be onboarded by you, Dave. Alien TA, what goes together grows together. Quantum Spirit in the house. Hi, Quantum Spirit. Jen, love the onboarding initiative, taking notes. And then I want to say one more thing, but I think I cut you off. Did you want to say one?
No, I'm good. I was just going to say that, yeah, Transient. I wouldn't be an artist in the sense that I am today without Transient. So to those guys, I just want to say everything I say about being enabled as an artist and having this as my full-time career, it's because of things they've helped me with. Yeah. And so that's just a fact. Best in the biz, and you're lucky if you get to work with them.
Yeah, I remember before I really got to know Transient, I saw their work with you and Drip Drop, and I thought, what the trait-based deconstruction of real world photographs at that time was incredibly novel, and the system that was built around it incredibly novel. I mean, still to this day,
by the way, I neglected to mention, same thing with Windows. Every window has everything tagged, and it's all traits, and there's special building types. So, like if you get a building and it's all boarded up windows, you understand.
Yeah, I would expect nothing less. But what I wanted to say, listen, is and again, thank you everyone for being here. As far as allocate, again, Dave dropped some, we have some pre-sale access and whatnot. So share the show, get your message in. We'll take care of it on the back end. What I want to say is this: spent the weekend out in LA with Jay and Silva at Dataland.
Oh, Jay and Silva.
But wait, let's do this. I mean, this is one of my favorite people in the world. You know better than anybody. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. There he is.
Yeah.
Jay and Silva.
Actually, I do want to just take 30 seconds on Jan because I think he's one of the most brilliant people I've ever met. Jan and he's my oldest creative partner. Like, we started hosting Instagram meetups in 2012 together. And him and I kind of ping-ponged back and forth with community building. And we built networks together. And to this day, we do. And he was also the one who onboarded me to crypto and NFTs. So I would not exist in the way that I do, both as an artist and as a man, without JN Silva.
Mhm.
So I want to say, follow JN, support JN. This space would not exist in the way it does without the work that he did. He onboarded hundreds
Mhm.
of artists one by one. And I think that that is very important that we all acknowledge that and remember that. So I love you, JN. You are a brother to me, and that's that.
Hell yeah. Well said. One of the most underspoken contributors to a really significant phase and then some of what all this is. I agree. Echo your words. And it's why, I mean, 24 Hours of Art are trying some cool stuff alongside Jay and Silva, and may many more adventures unfold. But for this adventure, more to come. Shared a little teaser with you today at the inception of the show. There's more to come on the back of that. Lots to share as far as Dataland goes. But this little connecting thought I have, Dave, let me get this off. This little connecting thought I have that connects the show today is this idea of, you know, two experienced artists coming at it from different arenas, but colliding in this space. But two experienced artists that have real track records and are calm, cool, and collected of standing behind the things that they're doing. That is attractive, and it is exactly how this expands. Where Refik, you know, had opportunities where he could back away from AI, or if someone asks him, "Hey, don't say AI here. Just come at it from because there's a little fear factor." He stands up to that and says, "No, this is what it is. This is what I'm doing," and he's thought those things through. You, as blockchain equals canvas, you have clearly put a lot of time, effort, and energy into that. That yes and mentality, I think, is incredibly powerful. And so the two of you standing behind your endeavors and walking that forward, it makes me excited to be around here.
Thank you so much. I'm honored by the comparison, and you know, shout out Refik for all he's doing stuff on a scale that is truly mind blowing. And I think that gap that we're trying to bridge from our world to the real world, you know, what he did with MoMA. I mean, how many people saw that and got to experience a little taste of what we're doing over here? And everybody who went there could mint, you know, their version of that giant, incredible, you know, digital sculpture. There's a little QR code next to it, and you could get an edition of that. I did it, and I saw a bunch of other people do it who had no idea what they were engaging in. So that's very important stuff, and I think it's great. And yeah, just to the idea of AI, just one last time, is like, if it weren't for Claude, this would have been a very Herculean task. But it helped me. It's not generating my art for me, but it's helping me organize myself and organize my communications and organize my allow lists and organize my imagery. It's just like it's my personal assistant in a way that is an unlock like on anything I've ever experienced in my life. And so to the artists out there, if you haven't incorporated any of this into your practice, I would highly recommend that you play around.
Yeah,
it's not
what I heard
corrupting
is
what
like
you're doing.
building the system around your art is a powerful thing. And so
Yes.
Here. Listen, Digital Art Market Show, damn show. Glad to be here today. Fun show today. Very, very fun show. String of fun shows, for that matter. We're not stopping. Next week, back at it Monday. Refik Anadol, first segment. Dave Krugman here with us, second segment of the day. Big event in your world tomorrow. Big event in Refik's, well, ongoing big events next weekend.
That was a window. That was a window?
Yeah. Let's just go a step further. I would ask for pane, like window panes. I'd ask for sills. Next time. Give you some time to think on it. All right, my friend. Great to do this since
Thank
2021,
you so much.
Dave Krugman. Since 2026. That's a long time. It's incredible to see you innovating. You still have a full head of hair. I'm losing some. Onward and upward.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you, man.
All right,
Talk
everybody.
soon.
Take care.